right, punters, here we are. Mick, here we are. Cox Plate Week. How huge is this?
Mate, pretty pumped. Not only is it Cox Plate Week, mate, but we had an absolute fill-up last weekend, and I can't be more excited to get on the punt this weekend.
Mate, I had a phone call from your neighbours. Apparently, you were screaming and carrying on and cheering. There was so much cheering going on, they knew you had a fill-up.
Absolutely, mate. I nearly called the cops. We're going right off. Fantastic.
Well, look, I mean, it carries on this weekend. I'm not sure what you're doing, but I'm sure you'll be in front of your TV, Nick, and I certainly will be. I'm sure everyone watching this show will be. It's Cox Plate Saturday. It's Manikato Stakes Friday. There's the invitation at Randwick, new ground there. Lots going on. Obviously, the Cox Plate, biggest weight for age race in the world. Why wouldn't you be excited? Let's just talk about the program this week, Mick. We try to line it right up with Moonee Valley being the showpiece. So we've gone through all-time stats to pick out, and we had someone request that on our YouTube channel, all-time stats to point out who are the Moonee Valley experts. Now, you can't get better than all-time. And there are some amazing stats. We go one better after that, and we actually talk to, look, I would call him the king of Moonee Valley at the moment because over his lifetime, he's got some amazing stats, and that's, of course, Mark Hunter. Then we're going to finish off with our How Do You Punt series, Mick. And look, they've been going well. What have you been thinking of the chat, Mick? Have you seen some of the comments?
They've been going nuts, mate. Some great engagement from everyone on Twitter there, and mate, I love it. Some varying views and some learning a little bit here from other people as well. So it's good to see, mate. Love it.
Yeah, I always find it very intriguing just to see what people do when they do their form, and as you just said, you learn a bit here and there. So probably get different perspectives. I think it takes you out of the little box that you sit in when you look at the form and think broader. But we're going to continue that, and so we're going to look at jockeys and form. And do you look at the jockeys' influence, whether or not you back a horse or not? And if they do, when do they influence you? Under what circumstances? So you ready for that one, Mick?
Love it, mate. Look forward to that one.
Yeah, and look, of course, that YouTube channel is becoming fuller and fuller of content. It really is filling up. Mick's doing a great job over there. You had a bottler this week, Mick. You want to tell them about that one?
Yeah, mate. We were joined by Dean Watling as per normal, and also had Salts on. So it was great to catch up with those two guys just to preview Saturday's racing. So that was done on Monday night. It's been out for a while, so thousands of views, people all around that. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. The boys, Dino steered us into one at $4. It's open at $1.90. Wow. Salt has got a couple of tips there as well that are coming up, well, a couple of pushes per se, not tips as such, but are coming up on Saturday as well. And I had one there as well. So definitely worth checking out. We've been providing a truckload of winners and value as well. So in previous weeks, so definitely worth checking that out. We've also got Mark Hunter interview coming up as well, which will be up soon. So if you missed that, you are dead set raving mad.
Yeah, he's got some great insights in the Moonee Valley too. So whatever you do, don't go away. Remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. You'll get a notification when each show drops, this show and the other previews that Mick is doing, and anything else we do. We've got a whole range of things planned. So it really is going to become your racing channel. So don't not subscribe. And furthermore, remember there's chapters here. You can go ahead to your favorite chapter, go back and forth. Buckle in, folks. This is our Moonee Valley Cox Plate special edition. Hang in there. Let's chat, Mick. Mick, it's Moonee Valley. So here we have the Moonee Valley experts. We're looking at all time. So from every tip that we've ever grabbed, and the people like the bloke at the top we're going to talk to in a second, it's back to 2009. So we're talking about a pretty strong history here. And this is cash profit at Moonee Valley using actual stake. Actual stake, Mick, that is if they've got a staking plan, it's using that staking plan. If they haven't got a staking plan, then we're using double stake for best bets and just the standard stake for non-best bets. So it's all relative, and that all goes into the mix, and we come up with these top five here, Mick, at the top of the board there, and good reason why we went and spoke to him, Mark Hunter.
Mate, that's some pretty impressive effort from Mark there. He's pretty sharp at the Valley. Be keen to hear what he has to say coming up, mate.
Hey, look, you've got to hang around for the punters. It is really good stuff. I was taking my own notes, really. It is really good, insightful stuff. Knows the track. You listen to him and you think, wow, makes sense when you hear it. So hang around for that. Over 1,200 tips, and he's 25% pop. Remember, that's starting price. So if you're just taking your fixed odds, you're going to be doing a lot better than that over time. Mick Sharkey there with RSN. Tony Rickards keeps popping up. Winning Post must be doing something right. I would say he's been at least 4 or 5 shows now of ours. Matty Hill, the number 1 race call over there in Melbourne, or at least that's how he's billed. And
hey, just quietly, how good was Matty Hill at the Olympics? Fair income.
Yeah,
like rowing is one of the most boring sports in the history of the world. And Jeezy makes it exciting.
Rowers, don't write in, please.
Write in. Honestly, dude, give yourself an uppercut if you think that your sport is like, I play golf. Like it's boring as well. But rowing, I wish you'd get Matt Hill calling golf. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, well, look, he did a great job, I thought. Look, he's natural. He's a natural, and look, his voice now is just, as soon as you hear it, you think, right, I'm here in Melbourne. I've got the Metro Melbourne races going here for sure, because they just go 1 and 1. And look, he's doing a great job there. $4.16 average price, which is, you're certainly not just tipping favourites if that's your average win price. 17% pot. And don't forget, he's tipping in every race. He has to tip in every race. Would he tip in every race normally? Probably not. So, real standout there with Matty Hill. Look, the Sultan, this bloke, just standard. He's there all the time. I mean, you spoke to him this week, Mick. He's actually, Mick. One thing I noticed when you spoke to him is just what hard taskmaster is. He said he's getting out of a bit of a lull. I mean, that week he's talking about also where he's in a bit of a lull. I think he missed some decent winners by an absolute, hairline, and still didn't finish that bad. He wasn't far off evens for the week. So, what's this guy? He's just he's a freak. He really is.
He puts in the hours, mate. Works hard and expects results, right? So, you probably put him in the high achiever category, and people like that, dead set. They want results week in, week out, and. Mate, he's a smart young bloke. He's doing plenty of hard work, and we had a great chat with him. And if anyone wants to hear more about what he does, it's all on that YouTube clip there. Check it out, but mate, unbelievable. One thing I will say: 76% profit on turnover, Moonee Valley. Wow, watch out.
So now turning over as we do, and the tipsters, the punters themselves, and look, these are the top 5. There on top there, we've got Milton Rush, 69% pot, $5 average profit there, so not doing too bad at all. Haystack 5. Now, he's been top 5 a couple of times this year already. He's appeared on the show. This is his 4th time appearing on the show or being mentioned on the show. So, look, he'd be well in the running for Tipster of the Year, and we come out with that in January. Wayne Gordon, you remember Wayne Gordon? Mick, he had the how the fuck did you tip that? One of the first ones.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, tipped a $100 pop plus pop, and really gave us a good story as to how he found it. So that was really interesting. And yeah, look, he's appearing up the top more time than he's not. So good guy to follow. Simon Bellier is another one, and of course Gary Monahan. Here's another one. I think. Our first 5 shows, I think he was appearing on 4 of them, Mick. Do you remember it? Or you might remember
it. Yeah,
mate.
He stopped the payment, so I shelved him. Old Metho, man. Kept those cash incentives coming in, champ.
Yeah, you might have remembered his alias. It was Metho.
Metho, man. Mate, he was flying, and no doubt, like most people that are flying, ebbs and flows, he'll come back around, and that lifetime profit is unbelievable. 35% profit on turnover. Again, all those numbers on that leaderboard are great. But Gary does an amazing job, and he is most definitely someone you should be following.
Yeah, absolutely. So there we have 5 top media tipsters and the 5 top punters from all-time stats at Moonee Valley. You can search them all on the site, thegreattipoff.com. So, Mick, as we promised the punters, The guy who's at the top of the lifetime leaderboard for cash profit, Mark Hunter, is the guy we're going to speak to, or we spoke to this week. And look, the interesting thing there, Mick, is it's staking profit. And a lot of people say, oh, I follow Mark Hunter's tips. Obligated to tip in every race in other areas and so forth. This is his staking plan, his betting plan. And, he's leaving races. He's taking 2 or 3 horses and another with different stakes. And look, if you ever want to see how much value that's about, just look at this stat, 25% pot lifetime starting price from staking. And I can tell you now, if you go for even stake, it's nowhere near it, which just shows you how important his betting plan is.
Yeah, mate. The moral of the story there is, he's not betting in every race. And if you are betting in every race, well, you want to have 3 or 4 tipsters steering you into one. You don't want to just be chiming in with your own stuff. So, mate, guys like Mark, they're smart enough. They obviously give a tip in every race. We all have an opinion of how a race will unfold, but big difference between having an opinion how a race will unfold and actually putting your own fold on.
Yeah, and applying that analysis to which races to bet in. And so, of course, you can get his staking plan and his full package at thegreattipoff.com. Just search for Mark Hunter in the bar. And without any further ado, let's go and chat to the man. He's got some interesting stuff to tell us about Moonee Valley.
Let's do it.
Well, punters, coming up to the big Moonee Valley Carnival this weekend. We've got Friday night, of course, with the Manikato Stakes. And, of course, the Cox Plate on Saturday. For a lot of punters, the biggest weekend in racing. What a time to bring in a bloke who he's tipped over 1,200 tips at the track since we've been recording him back in 2009, using his staking plan showing 25% pot, and that's using starting price. Any guess if you're taking the fixed odds and following his staking plan. Mark Hunter, how are you, mate?
No, Damian, yeah, good, thank you.
That's the way. And look, we've got to start with a bit of a confession to start here, mate. I was about to talk about lockdown and Melbourne, but I believe that's not the case for you at the moment, mate.
No, we'll be next week, but no, I fled to Queensland about 3 months ago and I couldn't see much point in going home to prison. So I'm still here, but I do have to return home next week.
I love the words we use at the moment in this environment, fled and, couldn't handle the lockdown. Anyhow, we're hopefully at the tail end of it, mate. Great to hear, Mark, that at least you can go down to a pub or something and watch the big races on the weekend.
Yeah, for sure. You wouldn't even know it exists up in Queensland. It's weather's beautiful every day. Everything's open. I think we had maybe 5 days of lockdown here through once, or maybe 7 days of lockdown. But apart from that, it's full steam ahead up here.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Us Southerners and your friends down there in Victoria will love hearing all that. But anyhow, getting on to the important discussion point, Mark. Obviously, with those stats, we had to talk to you, mate. Look, I think the thing that gets me with Moonee Valley, where all the action is this weekend, is, look, it's one of those tracks that's very peculiar. It's got its characteristics. It's pretty much a circular track, very small straight, only about 160 metres. There's all these chats. I mean, there used to be the Canberra that a lot of people spoke about. Maybe it's changed a bit. Is it a leaders track? So one of the toughest tracks, look, in my personal opinion, one of the toughest tracks to get it right on. You're doing it. Can you give us a bit of a view on what how you see some of these characteristics, and I guess how you consider them when you do the format?
Yeah, probably with Moonee Valley, for starters, the circumference of the track is not great. So I think it's really important to try and get a visual of where they'll be, say, at the 400-metre mark. Are they going to be tucked back inside them with traffic all over them? Are they going to be fifth, blending into the race beautifully? Are they going to get a nice run outside leader? So I think you call them speed maps, race shape, call them whatever you want. I think it's absolutely vital to try and get that picture right at Moonee Valley, and then combine that with the rail positions, out 7. I'd rather be leaders back or outside leader or leader than the horses back and coming wide have just got no hope. So I think pretty important to try and get your race shape right at the Valley as a starting point for a form reference for a race.
So Mike, just in that, you mentioned rail positions. So clearly rails out, the more rails out, the tighter it is. So the back markers have got less opportunity to come home.
Yeah, for sure. Like, as a rule, you do get changes. You'll have one meeting where it changes, but as a rule, rail 4 or 4 out, 5 out, 7 out, I'm working on leaders. It used to be at Moonee Valley Rail True, you could always run on. It was a beautiful run-on track. That's changed as well. If the track firms up, you can get leaders tracks. I think you've just got to try and think on your feet and, reference previous rail positions. Was it wet when it was out 4? Now it's back true. You think it's going to be fresh ground, that sort of stuff. And, just try and factor everything in together. Like you get the All-Star Mile Day where you get that track where you couldn't really pass a horse. You've only got 2 lanes. So horses that were favourite or in the betting have virtually got no hope, whereas a horse like Scorched Earth or Grand Slam, you've just got to promote them so much on that day.
Yeah, okay. I mean, let's just talk about, looking for your leaders. I mean, if I just use a bit of a case study here and go back to the Moya Stakes, I mean, we had Shakiro and we had September Run. September Run was 1 and Shakiro was 2. I think September Run didn't jump. Shakiro, did its usual thing and sort of showed a bit of pace, but really, by the time they sort of leveled out, it was back probably about 3 on the rails. Probably not a great place to be. I mean, when you're assessing leaders, I mean, is there anything your punters should look out for there, just in terms of some of those inside gates and trying to work out who's going to lead the race? I mean, obviously race speed is important, but how do you factor that in with the tight track and so forth?
Well, not really as when you factor in. I thought Profiteer would lead that race clearly, which I thought gave it a good winning chance, and had Wild Ruler stalking it. Now, the pace was probably more than I anticipated when that horse kicked up inside Profiteer. Yeah. We'll take you forward to the Cox Plate where you've probably got Zaki. There's 3 gates inside Zaki who'll go forward, but I don't know that any of them will want to lead. I can't remember off the top of my head, but Dalasan, the New Zealand horse, and the 3-year-old Captivant. So they're the 3 that probably roll forward. If any of them lead, you think that's suicide for them. They're not going to win the race. So, you've got to factor in, okay, Zaki's drawn 6 outside them. Will he end up rolling to the top and totally dictating the race? If he does that, obviously you promote him as a better winning chance in the race. So just a matter of trying to work out who you think will do what. You certainly don't get them right all the time, but you may as well have some idea how the race will be run.
Look, there's some great insights there, Mark. So, I mean, just to clear a couple of things up you said there, obviously that Canberra, not as significant anymore, and that's obviously since they sort of redid the track there, I'd imagine, at Moonee Valley, that's probably not playing as significant. And then the leader bias tends to be more relevant when the rail's out, and obviously that means a tighter track, harder for back markers to come home.
Yeah, tight rail out for sure, but also firmer track. You get some quite firm tracks at the Valley these days. The track's completely changed over the last few years. Again, looking forward to Saturday, you've got Friday night rail true. The forecast is, who knows what the forecast is, but at the moment it's for rain Friday night. So you can just imagine wear and tear on that track Friday night. Come Saturday, you can't think it's any bonus whatsoever to be down on the rail. So in those sprint races that you referenced, a horse that's going to be 5th inside, 6th inside, realistically should be in a horrible spot. And whereas the horse that's going to be 6th, 7th, 8th, blending in 3, 4 wide, it's the one you're going to be looking for in those 1,200-metre races.
Oh, geez, look, this is gold for the punters thinking about their speed maps for the big day on Saturday, Mark. And look, I like what I'm hearing there, where you're really considering what happens on Friday, rain, wear and tear on the track, where the rails are. Hey, look, I think punters are getting more than that bargain for in this chat, mate. So thank you very much for that. Hey, I have to ask a question, Mark. Obviously, early on, we're filming this on Wednesday, so a lot of information to come. Anything you've at least got your eye on, mate, from this early stage?
Well, look, I'll go for the 2 main races, Friday and Saturday. The Manikato, which is a very even race. My 2 there would be Savat 2XL, who, without having a speed map in front of him, is going to be banging forward somewhere on the speed. And I thought Express Pass might be the one blending in if they get too hard off midfield. So at an early stage, I'll go Savat 2XL and Express Pass there. And Cox Plate, I think Very Elegant's the best horse. You go back to that Caulfield Cup last year, she beat a terrific field. You could argue she maybe should have won the Melbourne Cup. And that's a much better standard than what we've got this year with the lack of internationals and whatnot. So the rain forecast, I think Very Elegant's the best horse, but I do like the State of Rest. As long as the track looks okay, first look at it, I'd say it might be a worry on wet ground. So I'll go for Very Elegant from State of Rest, but obviously track pattern and everything can change between now and then.
No, thanks, Mark. And of course, punters can find out it all, and in particular the staking plan. And a lot of punters ask questions like, well, hang on, I can pick up a few tips here and there off Mark off the radio. Obviously, as we say, obligated to tip in certain races. Staking plan is actually what Mark suggests you bet on. Leave some races. participates with 2 or even sometimes 3 options with various staking in others. It really is with the 25% pot over 10 years. It's got to be your companion on Cox Plate, and even Mark, you have a Manikato package out as well. I trust.
Yep.
Yeah, great. So look, what a great thing. Obviously, Google Mark Hunter tips or come to thegreattipoff.com and in the search bar, put in Mark Hunter and you'll be taken straight to it. Hey, Mark, all the best, mate. For look, is this your favourite weekend, or is there another one that tops it off, mate, as far as the spring racing?
Oh, I love the Derby Day. Derby Day weekend's a beauty. Derby Day Cup week, it's hard work. You start to wear down after Cup Day. You're just about out of gas. You've got 2 to go, but if you can find a winner that week, that's usually where you get your big value.
Yeah, good on you, Mark. All right. Well, look, all the best, mate, and thanks again for your time.
Thank you.
Continuing on in our segment, How Do You Punt? We this week are looking at jockeys. Look, it's clear to me. I mean, I'll tell you, Mick, just quickly talking to Dean Lester. There's a guy who, when he does his speed maps, has this sort of really extensive knowledge of jockeys, specifically in Melbourne, Victoria. As well, and obviously is able to reflect on their strengths and weaknesses and apply that to a speed map and how the race shape will take. Obviously we all do it in our own way. We've got the jockeys we love, the ones we don't, the ones that are in between, and some of us sort of think about what their strengths and weaknesses are, and we might apply that to other ratings factors. What's probably one point that stands out in your mind when it comes to assessing jockeys and how that influences who you back in a race?
I think some jockeys, like all athletes and all human beings, have instincts, right? And each jockey has their own set of instincts. We know Huey Bowman can be more patient than others, and obviously, that comes from experience. Not that he's not a great jockey in general, but you love to have him on your horse over 1,600 metres and beyond, because he's going to be patient. He's not going to crap the bed at halfway and push the button too early. But that also has its downsides when he's overly patient. But at times, it is what it is. You have other jockeys that that like to pull the trigger, and more often than not, they're celebrated when they produce a good ride, but they often drive a few into the ground as well. So look, every jockey sort of has their tendencies. There's serious deep dive of data you can do into all that. Great sort of numbers that sort of suggest that jockeys in the top 4, etc., strike at X, Y, and Z. But you can work out jockeys' tendencies. A guy like Breton Avdulla, you just know he's always going to, have a go. As an example, just gutsy. Tommy Berry is another example of a great rider, but who also has similar patience to Huey.
Yeah, no, look, good points. Look, a couple of things I'd add very quickly is, look, if I'm looking at a speed map, I'm looking at a horse rates well in my mind. I have it, say, 3 pairs back on the rails, looking for it to struggle maybe to get out or whatever the case may be. If I've got a better jockey on it, a Huey, a J-Mac, Damien Oliver, whoever it might be in whatever state, more inclined to take the punt there. Probably if I've got a more junior jockey on it, or someone who I think is probably not going that well in those sort of situations, I'm probably going to let that one go. The other one I was going to mention was apprentices. Look, personally, I really need a bit of a significant gap in the ratings that I do to get excited about backing a horse with an apprentice. Now that I'm sure I'm going to have some opposition against that, and it's probably not overly fair because they're going to get through their apprenticeship. Look, that's just something I do, and I base it on their rivals. And if they've got some big name rivals in there, I just feel that experience tends to drive that patience you spoke to, Mick, but also the aggression. Like, the Damien Ollers who just, they've been there before many times, and their little tactics that can sort of override those less experienced jockeys. But yeah, they're my.
I agree with you, mate. I tend to penalise any horse that's not in the top 4 with an apprentice on board. Further than 4 and beyond, penalise them, and obviously they get the weight allowance. But if I'm doing my stuff, I won't be adding any of that weight allowance to it, pure and simple, because it's just a hard work. But if they are sort of in the top 4, especially if they're on a leader, especially if they're down in grade, with that allowance, then more than happy to bet up. But it has to be a certain scenario. On the rare occasion, though, you can find a couple of good ones. I know Tommy Sherry was doing a pretty good job there for a while during his apprenticeship, and Robbie Dolan as well. So you can find some real good ones that can ride from the back. But generally speaking, it takes them a couple of years to really know what they're doing.
There we go. So a couple of points put out there, punters. We want to hear from you. Tell us what you think. What do you do, jockeys? I mean, look, are there some rules that you use for jockeys in terms of speed maps and where you have them placed and what certain jockeys can do and can't do? Whatever it is, post it. Let us know. We really want to hear what you think. Great discussion points. If you don't want to post, come to Twitter, our Twitter page, our Facebook page, our YouTube page. There's some great conversation going on there. And at least, if anything, you get to read that and learn a bit about what punters do. Cheers, Mick. Thanks for your input there, mate.
No, I love it, mate. Get around it, guys. Just stop spraying the jockeys. Let's just get around them.
Yeah, that's a good point. Stop spraying the jockeys. They're just doing their job. Okay, Mick, that's it. We're done for another week. Our Cox Plate edition. Where are you watching the race on Saturday, Mick? Have you got the gang over again?
No, mate. Shelve the boys. They're not welcome back anymore. Mrs. had enough. She had a gutful. I'm actually catching up with a mate, so I'll be probably just having a couple of quiet beers down somewhere down the North Shore, local pub. If you chime in, happen to see me. And I've seen you into a few winners in the past year or so. Don't be afraid to buy me a schooner or 10. How about you, mate?
Potentially catching up at the pub. But look, I'll tell you what, lockdown sort of got me used to having the screens around and everything. So I'm not like you, Mick. I don't get the homework done early enough. So I'm probably going to be at home watching them, I'd say, as a result. But certainly not short of a brown beverage and everything else that goes with that. Certainly looking forward to it. And Friday night, by the way, as well. So, hey, mixed moral time. What have we got, Mick?
Mate, short and sweet, this one. Randwick race 3, number 5, Abel Willie was outstanding on debut. $2, right? You don't have to be a genius to work it out. Its recent trial was ridiculous. The boys talked about it on Monday night as well. I think they're all pretty keen on it. We got $4, which is just super. So thank you, Dean Watling. It is a moral. It will be winning. Kieran, just be good and it'll win.
Talking about jockeys, our jockey program, Kieran, be good.
That's advice, mate. That's advice. That's not giving a spray. That's just be good, mate.
Yeah, no, all good. There we go. So race 3, number 5, Abel Willie. There's mixed moral. Hey, look, not much left to say other than don't forget the greattipoff.com is the place to come for your horse racing tips. Remember, if you're hanging around afterwards, greyhound racing tips, harness racing tips, there is everyone from the media on there. And also some great pro punters. I mean, some outstanding pro punters with amazing stats. And don't forget, everyone on the site has got a validated stat. We're independent, no reason to do anything other than just show the stats. Lots and lots on there. Always someone going really, really well. Thegreattipoff.com, don't forget that. Mick, you'll be on there, of course. You'll have your tips in nice and early and all that sort of stuff, as will Dean Watling and all the others that we speak to. And, of course, Mark Hunter with his staking package for Moonee Valley. So don't forget that. Mick, without any further ado, thanks again, mate. Exciting times. We'll be back next week, of course, with our Derby edition. We've got someone cracking lined up for that one. But until then, good punting, Mick.
Thanks, mate. You too.
Let's go, punters.